everyone, to another episode of the Hall of Fame show. It's season 4, episode 4. And wait a minute, I'm on secret location. Shh, don't tell anybody where I am. I've left Mount Manitoba just for a week, but I'll be back. Much like Evan Nolan, who's always here. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I'm in the marshmallow corner like I always am.
You
Best
know,
place in the house to get internet connection.
there you go. Well, Marshmallow Corner and my undisclosed location. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Kirk Buchner. And together, Evan and I, we own NotInHallOfFame.com, the fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, the fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, which you can vote on now at www.notinhalloffame.com/USA for the first ever United States Athletic Hall of Fame class. And the great thing about this is it is completely transparent and open to all of you. All of you are voters. You're all Hall of Fame voters. Think of that. You didn't have
Yeah.
to join Saber for 10 years.
Hey, and one thing we do not allow is blank ballots.
Well, I suppose, well, yeah, I mean, I guess now that I think about it, I don't see how that would, yeah, it wouldn't even work. That's true. There you
Yeah, it
go.
doesn't make a difference because we don't do percentages, we do overall totals.
That's true. Yes, you can't do it.
None of this moralizing.
Well, there
So.
you go. But you know what's good morals is good betting. Okay, maybe it isn't, but if you bet responsibly, it is. I never said I was good at segues, Evan. I never
I
said
have
it.
to say that's one of the good ones. I actually
Was
enjoy
it?
that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, betting is something that I like to do. I also lose a lot, always to this
That
guy.
is true.
Yes, it is true. But I'm changing all that. Now, I mean, it might be a struggle because Evan's already downloaded the same thing that I have. What's that? You say it's BetStamp. Download BetStamp, and let me tell you why you should. Hey, there's a little game coming soon. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called the Super Bowl.
Yes, the superb owl. I love the
It's
superb owl.
absolutely. There's actually you're the second person on my failed copy to do it this way. You and Brad Nelson apparently know each other very, very well.
Well,
But
I'm just worried that we're not allowed to use the name of that game without getting in trouble with the express written consent of the NFL. So,
well, he wasn't. So either way, so whether you like that beautiful bird or the beautiful game of football or really anything else for that matter, you want to get the best odds. I know I do. So
Mhm.
if let's say you've got a hankering that I don't know who's going to be in the big game. We know it's going to be there's not too many possibilities left, but let's say it's going to be I don't know San Francisco, and you're a big 49ers fan, and you're thinking this is it, but they might go in an underdog. But you want to get the best value possible. Well, here's what BetStamp does. You download that app, and all the betting sites that you use, whether it be Cool Bets, William Hill, there's piles of them. So it's going to put it all in a big spread, a spread, so you can see the best spread. Ah,
Mm.
I should write their copy for them. Why? Why? That's what I should do. But it's a great thing to sort of so that way you can sort if you because you want to be a smart better. You want to get that extra little point if you can. Why wouldn't you? Makes sense, doesn't it? And if you're a terrible better like me, you can follow great betters. BetStamp sort of allows you to do that. Or if you want to do future props, like maybe Evan does. Maybe Evan thinks the Patriots. I know I said this last time. I'll do this again. Evan thinks the Patriots are going to win the whole thing, or maybe the Bears. How about that?
Come on, let's be
The
realistic.
first, it could happen. It could happen. But
It could
let's
happen.
okay. But let's say you want to pick on that. You pick on one of those, and then you want to like unload it. You can. It's a great system. It is very unique, the only one of its kind. And download it. Not just download it. Download it with my promo code, Evan's promo code, Buck BUCK 25. What's that again, there, Evan?
Buck, Buck.
Mm-hmm.
25.
Thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
I really like that stamp. It's great. So I encourage
Good.
all of you to do that, and they are our official sponsor. So if you like what we do here at notinhalloffame.com, do us a favor, download that and place some bets and do it responsibly.
Absolutely. Speaking of things about not Hall of Fames this week, we had a pretty big announcement.
We did. I thought you were going to go. Speaking of things that weren't responsible, some of the Hall of Fame ballots.
Yeah, well, we were
Yeah,
already sort of covered that in the
we,
promo.
we, we did. Yeah, so the Baseball Hall of Fame made their giant announcement, and Fred McGriff will not be going in alone. He will be joined by Scott Rowland.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was somewhat predicted. The great Twitter
Although,
account. What?
although I think in most of the modeling, they only said there was a 12% chance Roland was going to get enough votes to get in.
Oh,
That,
because I guess what I was looking at, I was just sort of like doing my own off the top, just how it usually sort of drops down a bit. Because they had Roland somewhat ahead, but not everyone makes their public ballot known. So,
yeah, I think it was historically based off, and this may not have been accurate to the last day. It was within the last week that
mhm.
it looked like with the amount of ballots that he had, he was going to get close, but it was only about a 12% chance to get over, and then he did.
Yeah, so he was over by 5 votes. So Scott Rowland enters on, was it his fifth ballot or sixth? I believe sixth. Okay, so on his sixth ballot, excellent choice. Uh, we have two really good Hall of Famers going in, but I
Mm-hmm.
neither of them are big draws, and
I,
I want to bring that up because we're going to be talking about names later on who are big draws who will never see it.
mm-hmm.
Baseball Hall is very interesting now.
Well, it's also I'm confused a little bit as to what the voter criteria is. Uh, I know that there are a lot of people out there defending Roland when Dale Murphy never got close to getting in.
Hmm.
Uh, Dale Murphy, of course, a two-time MVP. Scott Rowland finished ninth once. That's the best he did.
Hmm.
Scott Rowland's WAR is significantly higher than Dale Murphy's, but I don't believe they had defensive WAR yet for all of Dale Murphy's career.
They it is calculated. I mean, it's calculated from like even 100 years ago. Uh,
Okay.
how accurate that is?
There was something that wasn't fully calculated for all of Dale Murphy's career as
Yeah.
of yet. I can't remember what it was, but it's just an interesting because if you're doing just WAR, I get why Roland's in, but then why is Whitaker waiting? And if you're doing accolades, then why is Roland in but Murphy not? So there's a whole bunch of I'm confused as to where we are with the
Well,
Hall
Zach
of Fame.
Allen.
Not that I have any problem with Roland getting in. I don't. Their third base is probably the most underrepresented position, honestly,
Hmm.
in the Hall, particularly recently. Although we may be getting another one next year, which we'll talk about coming up. But I'm glad to see Roland in. I'm glad we didn't have another blank Hall situation.
Hmm.
Like we had a couple of them recently. Um, but yeah, it's good to see Roland in. It's just I'm not sure where they are right now, where things stand.
Because they
Because
don't know where they are,
that's true.
and
They have no idea what to do.
you've got 300 plus voters, all of not all of them, but I mean they're with very conflicting ideas and
Mm-hmm.
very vague parameters. Uh, and that's not going to change. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse as we come up with more scandal-ridden players
Mm-hmm.
with different varying scandals. I mean, we've
Right.
got there's the purist point of view, which is scandal, no thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Then the extreme, which is, well, I don't know who cheated, so no vote from me. To
Which is I'm sorry, I'm back up. That one is one of the dumbest ones
Of
to
course it
me.
is.
Because if you don't know who cheated and people still excelled, again, it's just if everyone cheated, if no one cheated, then someone did great. That's wonderful. If everyone cheated and someone did great, then the playing field's still the same. I don't get that one whatsoever. Other than I want to make sure that everyone knows how important and edgy I am.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Also, too, I mean, like these are also a bunch of writers who need baseball's not as big. We know you and I have talked about this for years. Baseball's not as big as it used to be, but baseball hall is bigger than ever. So one of their
Mhm.
most read articles that a lot of these people are going to do is what they publish their vote.
That is true.
So I guess to your maybe your edge lord theory. Okay, kids, do I have that word right? I'm not sure,
I
but
don't know either.
mhm. When I say kids, I didn't mean me.
How about hot take person? Like just trying to make
Okay,
themselves the center of a
sure.
cycle.
Okay,
Go.
absolutely. So like I think we've got a lot of people doing that just so that they can come up with something unique. We saw a lot of really weird ones go through, but I guess moving on, we got some. So the person who was close, I thought initially when this whole process started, I thought was going to get in. So we got Todd Helton. who
Mm-hmm.
is moved up to 72.2% on his fifth year. I don't know
Yep.
how he got so much better.
Uh,
It's
I, yeah. Well, part of it was Bonds, Clemens, and Schilling are gone, and so
true.
more people are taking legitimate looks at everybody else. And Helton and Larry Walker, when Walker got in a few years ago, were both hurt by the Coors Field effect.
Mm-hmm.
Helton is was one of the best baseball players of the decade of the 2010s. And I have no issue with him getting in. It's just all these Coors guys are all going to have to wait for a while. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Uh,
Your
uh,
favorite next.
well, okay. Let's get into that. Billy Wagner, 68.1, eighth year on the ballot. He's going to be the next reliever in. I have been adamant against my thing for Wagner. When I did have my interview with Sean Foreman, thank again, Vinny Lospnusa for setting that up. And Sean runs Sports Reference and created Baseball Reference.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the look, but he's not he didn't he has a vote. He did not vote for Wagner,
Okay.
and Wagner to me again. This is like one of those rare times. Baseball is one of also very fascinating where nobody looks at your playoffs very much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Which is good for Mike Trout.
which is
Not that Mike Trout needs the help, but if they did look at his playoffs, there'd be much
yeah,
more.
sure, it helped Ernie Banks too.
Yeah.
But if they really looked at Wagner when the lights were on brightest, he stunk. He stunk,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't get it. I don't get it. There's a massive push for him, maybe because he's also a scandal-free player. Because I can't even say steroid-free anymore because we've got two other people who are beset with something that has nothing to do with PEDs. So let's say
Mm-hmm.
he's a scandal-free player. But I guess my thing is, I don't know how he's going to be a Hall of Famer and Dan Quisenberry isn't. Who at one
Yeah.
time was the best close. It was a one and done.
I
Also,
mean, I mean, Quisenberry also, without, I guess this isn't necessarily a fair thing, but Quisenberry is remarkable in baseball history just because of the way he pitched
mm-hmm,
and how cool he was and everything like that. Died much too young,
mm-hmm.
uh, but
And is a champion.
and is a champion with the Royals.
Yes.
So it's a lot of the decisions that have been made in recent years have made it so that it's impossible really to tell what the criteria is anymore. Because I mean, no offense to Harold Baines, who's a Hall of Famer, Baines could cry all the way to the bank. But when Harold Baines got in, it opened up the door for a whole bunch of other players who are a lot better than Harold Baines, who are not in the Hall of Fame,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh, I mean, Wagner is another one of those. I can see the argument, but yeah, Quisenberry, Jeff Reardon, like you can like start going back to really good closers who had more success. Why Wagner and not fill in the blank with your
John
favorite?
Franco, there's another name.
John Franco. There's a really good one.
Yeah. Another one and done. But then when I look deep onto his ballot, he debuted in a ballot that it was going to be next to impossible for him to get through.
Yeah, well, that's part of it too. But I mean, we'll talk about later because I think this next ballot's going to be brutal for people with the people coming on.
Mm-hmm. So Andrew Jones moves up to 58.1%, sixth year on the ballot. Really, really good. That's actually Sean For Sean Foreman's guy. So like he
Mm-hmm.
was upset, or I don't know, maybe upset's not the right word, but he didn't understand how he had only less than 10% the first 2 years. But
Mm-hmm.
he's trending obviously in the right direction. Gary Sheffield at 55% on his penultimate year on the ballot. 500 home run guy. He's a lot like he's actually a better Fred McGriff in some ways because although there were different positions, they were both vagabonds for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Both hired guns. Difference being one guy we know juiced and one guy didn't.
Also,
Sheffield,
also McGriff is a much nicer man than Gary Sheffield is.
that also does not hold.
I'm not saying that's fair. I'm just saying it's a true statement. I think Sheffield's mellowed a little bit now that he's been out of baseball. But when they were in baseball, nobody has said anything bad about McGriff. And ask the Brewers how they feel about Gary Sheffield.
Well, it goes back to Baines. If,
Mm-hmm.
if Baines is not so beloved by everyone he came across, is he in the Hall
Mm-hmm.
of Fame with that stat line? No.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Red Sox fan to me is like Baines and not Dewey Evans. So,
well,
yeah.
that's another giant snub that we
Mm-hmm.
both agree on. All right, so
Kenny Lofton.
Kenny Lofton. Yeah. So this is the most interesting one to me, which was the debut on the
Yes.
ballot of Carlos Beltran, 46.5. I'm just going to go through his numbers really quick here. 2,725 hits, 435 home runs, 1,587 RBIs, 312 stolen bases. What I do I have his B war over 70, slightly over 70. So he's got your traditional, he's got your advanced, but he's also a champion. But how did he become a champion?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about Beltron. I think he gets really close next year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the cheating scandal, a lot of people didn't vote for him year one.
I agree.
And maybe a few still don't vote for him year two. I think by year four, Beltron is in at the latest. I think he's in before that. I think it's probably 2 more years that you'll see Beltron in.
I think a few people wanted to make a point.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I think we see a lot of that, which is sort of like why in the past there were. I guarantee you there were people who knew that, let's say, Ken Griffey Jr. should
Mm-hmm.
be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and just said, you know what, no.
If Babe Ruth wasn't, why is Ken Griffey Jr. like unanimous, right? I
But then
mean,
they,
Jeter was at 99.7. Mariano Rivera is still the only one who's perfect.
which is fascinating to me. I mean, he
Yeah.
should be. He should. There's no reason not to vote him in. Uh, but that's that will always be my most fascinating Hall of Fame trivia question of all time
Mm-hmm.
is who was the first unanimous in Mariano Rivera, and anyone who doesn't follow this stuff will just go what,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever. Yeah, Beltran I think had to pay some penance in a lot of voters' minds, right or wrong, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and well, he didn't win Survivor and he didn't make the Hall of Fame. Jeff Kent, 46.5, last year in the ballot, he's out of there.
Yeah, Kent was stuck in the 30s for 20s and 30s for quite a long time. He got up over 55%. We'll see what that does for him when he gets into the seniors pools. I always feel like the seniors pools are a little bit easier in baseball than they are in football.
But okay, but let's look at what we've learned here from the last one. All right, so or the last few, who got in among the people that they know, McGriff and Harold Baines. What did they both have in common? We just said
They're
everyone
like,
likes them. Jeff
yeah,
Kent. Uh oh, because
yeah.
now a lot of the people who would go into that, whoever's going to be on that vet committee, either played with him, played against him, and know him more than hey. So how'd you feel on this at bat out there? Big difference.
Yeah.
This it turns now into a popularity contest, and he's not popular.
Yeah, he also had one of the dumbest excuses for an injury ever.
Okay, tell everyone for those who
Yeah,
don't.
so he fell off his motorcycle and got injured and told everyone that he actually got injured by cleaning out the back of his truck and slipping, which the only yeah, that one my favorite injury though I think ever, which is actually around the same time. There used Red Sox used a pitcher named Paxton Crawford who rolled out of bed, fell out of bed, and he had a glass of water on the floor next to his bed and landed on the glass of water and like cut up his side and a whole bunch of other stuff from the glass that broke. I have no idea if that's true, but that just seemed like one of those, yeah, I got injured. I need to make up something. And I thought of Kent at the time. Like that was something Jeff Kent would have made up had he like been in an accident and gotten glass in his side. That's how he
Well, we
would
never
make up.
said Jeff Kent was particularly bright.
No,
Uh,
he did have a nice mustache though
he had a
for a while.
mustache.
It was pretty good.
Again, we're not talking Wilford Brimley. It was just a mustache.
That's true. Anyway, continue.
All right. I think this is the most telling of all of them, which is Alex Rodriguez. He had 34.3 last year. He was 35.7 this year. Not a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of people changed their mind on him. They're not going to. And again, you and I have talked about this before, so apologies for our longtime listeners or viewers. Our Maginot line, and you and I agree on this, like all the stuff we've been agreeing on here, is if you cheated after 2004 when baseball agreed to it, that means the union and the players. Too bad, so sad.
I have a prediction for you. I guess I could do this with our sponsor here, right?
Okay.
I think Alex Rodriguez is getting in before his 10th ballot.
Really?
And I'll tell you why.
Okay, please.
Because at some level, they're going to realize how stupid it is that Clemens and Bonds aren't in. And Clemens and Bonds are going to find they didn't get through the first ballot here. I know that McGriff got through, but
Mm-hmm.
again, it's another punishment ballot. 3 years from now, either Clemens or Bonds, when it comes up again, will get in. And once
Okay,
they're
I see where you're going with that.
A-Rod, you can't be outside. Plus, now I know your people are drawing the line, and I understand my line and everything. Ortiz is in, Piazza is in. Who else was thought of? Who's in?
Ivan Rodriguez.
Yeah, Ivan Rodriguez is in. Frank Thomas was a naturally big guy, but there are still things about him. Jeff Bagwell.
Hello, eugenics. I saw that commercial with him and Doug Flutie. I can't.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. Jeff Bagwell's in.
Yep.
Like at some point, there'll be enough of these people you think used who are in there. We're just drawing weird lines because, like, just as a reminder, neither Clemens nor Bonds ever actually tested positive for anything. There was a lot of smoke. I'm not going to say there wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no actual test to provide fire for either of them.
Oh yeah, there's more smoke in there than a 1950s airplane, but
Yeah,
it's no okay.
I liked it. It was good. It
Yeah.
was no, it was not expected. So
Well, I was on a plane this morning, which is actually going to tie in with my elevator down.
got it.
Okay, so that might foreshadow a little bit. But you're segueing perfectly here. A-Rod to Manram.
Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah, Manny, I don't think is going to get in before his 10 years are up because we only got three more. And the next time the vote comes up is, like I said, I think either Bonds or Clemens gets in, or maybe both, um, or
Also,
maybe or maybe Schilling gets in at that point.
maybe.
Um,
Hey, Schilling did better than Bonds and Clemens did with the vet with his peers.
True. So I don't think, but that's 3 years from now. It's the same time that Manny is going to be in his last year. I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah. Okay, this is another fascinating one. Omar
Yeah,
Vizquel.
talking about scandals.
Well, exactly right. I mean, like it's man, baseball. The hall said, you know what? Speaking of, I think that was a nice beer you had. The PED guy, these Vizquel and shit, we just talked about him. Beltron. They just said, hold my beer.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a different reason to keep me out.
Yeah.
So Omar Vizquel is now under.
It's actually cider in a beer glass, by the way. So
Oh no,
there's no way for you to know that.
no. No, I thought it was a hold my beer moment. I ran with it.
Yeah, I liked it though. It's good.
Thank
It's
you.
Angry Orchard in a Gritty's glass. So
Alrighty. Well, Vizquel is now dropped below 20. 3 years
never make it.
ago, yeah,
Never make it.
and 3 years ago he was at 52.0%, and then it was probably a year or two away
Yeah.
getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, not only is he not going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, he's pretty much not allowed in any baseball organization in any capacity ever again. And
And someone pointed out that he was only the seventh best defensive shortstop of all time, to which Rob Nair was like seventh, like according to whatever the metrics are. To
yeah,
which he said seventh of the thousands of people played shortstop is not bad. But it's just he's never getting it.
yeah, that was always iffy on Vizquel, as you
Yeah.
know.
Because offensively, he was just
Was
he
a
was
compiler, and he was
the
also a
definition of
defensive
a compiler.
even on the defense, even on defensive, compiling defensive V war.
Yeah.
He's one of the few people I look at him that way. But there is, yeah, he actually dropped again. He was tracking so bad, it would look like it was even possible that he might go off the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
I mean, next year is year 7. I wouldn't be shocked if he's down under 10% at that point.
yeah, he's not. Yeah, there's and it's fascinating. And I don't want to go and sort of like put accusatory fingers. I mean, well, I can to Roberto Alomar. He's one domestic abuse. Well, did he? Yes. Well, he's accused of that, but then he also did other things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And Robbie was already in the Baseball Hall of Fame when the biggest bomb of that came out.
true. But there wasn't a massive accusation before, like going into that. It's a different era.
It's a completely different era.
I mean, it'll be really interesting when switching sports with Roethlisberger. You know, there's
Mm-hmm.
like someone who is first ballot, maybe. I don't know. Uh,
He's, I mean, he is, by the way, quarterbacks get voted in, he's first ballot.
but you know, in our football group, Jeff, he's adamant against it for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And will there be other people?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting when we get there because we may have ballots starting 3 years from now where we have 3 or 4 quarterbacks on it.
We
After
also
we
go down
have,
to a different age where not only are people not wanting to vote in assholes,
mm-hmm,
but pressured to not vote in assholes.
mm-hmm.
And they also sort of feel like they can, if they are on the on a moral side, they don't feel pressured not to. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think a lot of that is going to be really interesting. So, and if Vizquel doesn't tell you everything you need to know, I don't know what more I can tell you here on this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Moving on, we'll just go through these pretty quick because unless there's something really to go through. Andy Pettit hangs on, fifth year on the ballot, 17%.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it. Bobby Abreu has moved up to 15.4.
I don't see
That's
it either. There are a lot of people in our group we know who are big Bobby Abreu guys. I don't see Abreu getting it
I would love to have had Abreu on my team for 5, 6 years, but as a
though.
Hall of Famer, Jimmy,
I still remember when he won the home run derby.
mhm.
I was like, Bobby Abreu won this? And that's really how I feel about Abreu overall. Like, again, you do stats, everything else. Did I ever really feel like Bobby Abreu was a superstar? No, I never did. Never once.
Well, Jimmy Rollins at one point technically was
Yes, he
MVP
was.
champion. Uh, Advanced metrics are the S's. They're
Mm-hmm.
terrible. They're absolutely horrible. So I'm sure a lot of people who were voting for him just say, well, yeah, but he won and he blasted a lot and he was a big name.
Yeah.
Uh, Mark Burley,
Back to where he was 2 years ago.
yeah,
That's
he's yo-yoing, so like that doesn't bode well. I've been thinking a lot more about this guy when we first talked about him, Francisco Rodriguez, who
Sorry,
survived.
let me say one thing about Burley just
Yeah,
quickly.
please go ahead.
Burley is the last of his era.
Okay.
He's the last workhorse. I'm going to throw seven and 2/3 innings basically every single game that
Mm.
I'm out there. There's nobody else after him like Burley. I don't know if at some point was as starters go less and less time, that actually ends up helping him because he's the last of his kind, the last unicorn, as it were. I don't think it's going to get him in this way, but when we get to the veterans ballots, like Burley was a gamer,
Mhm.
everybody likes him. Uh, he has a very good shot, in my opinion, eventually getting in on a veterans ballot just because of
Okay.
that. That's all I want to say about
No, no,
him. I don't think he's getting in.
yeah.
Like he'll, although what do I know? I mean, he's at 10.8%. Roland was at 10.2 when he started. So I mean, he's only year 3. Took Roland 5 more years to get in. Because he get in year 8? Maybe.
Roland was on a tighter
We'll
ballot
never
though.
know. What?
Roland was on a tougher ballot when he debuted.
Well, I mean, that's also true. Nobody got in 2021
Yeah.
when he debuted. The first person in from 2021 is Roland, who finished 4th on that ballot. So
Okay. Francisco Rodriguez, you he's the only other person to survive the first ballot, 10.8. You had asked me before when they came out with first ballot, and you said to me, "Is he a Hall of Famer?" And I first said no, and then I went, no. And then I'm wavering. I have him higher than Wagner.
I
He's
agree.
got, he got slightly better numbers.
I'd much rather have Frankie Rodriguez than Francisco Rodriguez than Wagner.
So I would say, and you always ask this a lot, if player X gets in, who was his biggest beneficiary for? Well, obviously, if Wagner gets in, what voter can make the case that K Rod shouldn't be right there?
Yeah, I think Francisco Rodriguez should be rooting actively for Wagner getting it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm most happy there because I'm starting to think I probably wouldn't have voted him for my first one. I probably would now. I've been thinking about it more and more, doing more of a deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
So my first visceral reaction would have been initially wrong, but hopefully that means that the people who actually vote on this don't just vote; they just sort of think about it. So, and even the writers who might do this just for attention, at least you're being transparent. So,
That's true.
good on you for that, even if you're Dan Shaughnessy. Uh,
Or Tony Maserati, who only voted for A Rod and Manny Ramirez. So,
well, I think it's the same people who keep voting for Tory Hunter,
yeah, well,
6.9%.
I think so. Hunter started on that 2021 ballot. Nobody got in at
Mm-hmm.
9.5. He barely hung on last year at 5.3. He's back to 6.9. This upcoming ballot is really good. So 2 years ago, or I guess last year, the only ones that were added that mattered were A Rod and Jimmy Rollins. This year coming
Well,
up, we'll
yeah,
get into
let's go through that.
there's a bunch, but my point is this, though. We'll get to that in a second. Is that there are enough that there are two spots open now, right? Roland and Kent are off the ballot. So
Mm-hmm.
there are two spots open for people who vote for 10, but I think there's 4 or 5 people coming on that people may vote for, which may send Tory Hunter out. One of the nicest guys in the history of baseball, honestly. One of the most fun guys to watch. I love watching Tory Hunter. Tory Hunter to me is a much bigger star than Scott Rowland ever was.
Hmm. Uh, in terms of star power, I don't know that I would agree, but I wouldn't say that they're much different.
Now, Tory Hunter was
Okay,
fun
fair.
to watch. Scott Rowland, no offense to him. Scott Rowland was consistent and did some great things, but Tory Hunter, he was kind of magical in
He
terms of
probably did put a lot more asses in seats than Roland did.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway, and the folks who I just want to know which of these 5 people or 6 people would you have been most likely to vote for? Bronson Arroyo, R.A. Dickey, John Lackey, Mike Napoli, Houston Street.
These are all the people who received at least one vote.
Yeah, I guess there are 5 of them. Sorry.
Yeah. You're asking me or just
I think fans of the Boston Red Sox voted for these folks. Somebody.
who's the guy who voted for R.A. Dickey? I guess the Met guy.
But R.A. Dickey at least won a
Won a
Cy
Cy
Young.
Young. I mean, so I guess by default, I got to go with R.A.
Yeah. It's just interesting because both Bronson Arroyo and John Lackey's contract status with the Boston Red Sox was hilarious for opposite reasons. Arroyo signed a team-friendly deal because he wanted to stay in Boston, and they used that to trade him immediately. And Lackey was injured so much he triggered a clause in his contract. He was only going to pay for us for $500,000. Instead of having him for $500,000, they traded him so he could play for $500,000 somewhere else. But yeah, I probably would have taken Dickey, although Mike Napoli also holds a pretty good spot in my heart. As for the others, Matt Cain, Jacoby Ellsbury, Andre Ethier, JJ Hardy, Johnny Peralta, Jared Weaver, Jason Worth. Any of those guys are surprised and get at least one vote?
No.
No, I would have thought. I really always liked Johnny Peralta, not just because he didn't know how to spell Johnny or his parents didn't. But I was a little surprised Peralta didn't. But I was expecting to get 5 votes. I was a little surprised he didn't get at least one. So that's what we got. So congratulations to Roland and what we're looking at for next year. Can I go into? Let me work from the bottom to the top, and you tell me when we start getting in Hall of Fame range.
Go ahead.
Right. So these are the players who are eligible according to the rules. So you have to play at least 10 years in major leagues. in order to be eligible. So, for example, Josh Hamilton, who because of his addictions only got to play 9 years, was not ever eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
So here we go. These are people who play at least 10 years in baseball, retired and eligible. Santiago Casilla. Yeah, I know. That was my reaction as well. I want to make sure I typed that in correctly. Jim Johnson, reliever for most of the Orioles.
Barely remember him.
Chris Tillman,
Don't remember him much either.
Brandon Morrow,
Do remember him? Definitely no.
Phil Hughes,
No.
Ryan Madsen,
Nope.
Doug Fister, which was one of the worst names in baseball history.
But a great name if you're in a different industry.
Yeah,
Uh, no.
yeah.
I held back on a bad joke, so yay me.
I still remember the headline when he got traded to the Mariners. Uh, for that, I don't think I should repeat it, but it was like, wait, what is going on? Um, uh, Yvonne Gallardo,
Nope.
Chase Headley.
Nope.
Now we start getting to players who I'd actually really want on my team at some point. Denard Span,
I like really quick guy had a purpose at one point, but no.
Brandon Phillips.
I believe if I'm correct, I think he is married to AEW TNT champion Jade Cargill.
Oh, so he's already in the Hall of
It,
Fame.
she's a striking young woman. I'll leave it at that without sounding too creepy.
Yeah, I love Brandon Phillips. I always wanted him on my team, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Mhm.
James Shields.
Had some moments. Good, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Had some moments, yeah. I mean, like I agree with you. And players that I would want as on my team for his best 5 years for sure.
Victor Martinez.
Same, but not a Hall of Famer.
Jose Reyes.
Well, okay,
He's got
batting
other
title,
he's got other baggage. I understand.
yeah. Batting title, not necessarily. He's got other issues, but
Mhm.
in addition to, because he was suspended, right? He had a PED
And
suspension.
yeah, for a
Yeah.
while.
Uh, he would be probably one of those guys, and I think every team that had him, and Toronto had him for a hot minute too. Uh, you're happy when you're watching him at his peak, and then you hear more stuff, and then more stuff, and more stuff, and then you're so happy to see him go.
Yeah. All
So
right.
yeah,
I
Rise,
think this is
he's not even going to get 1%.
no. I think this is the next break point in this list here. Jose Bautista.
Fascinating. He's the guy. If you look at a stat line compared to age, you figure this guy has to be juicing. But then you look at his bicep size, which didn't change,
I know.
uh, and it did. And but Bautista was another one of those. And I guess as a Jason, I can speak on this. He would not get my vote,
hmm
uh, although he was responsible for. He was the top guy at a time when the Jays were relevant again,
hmm
and were able to make a good playoff run. An exciting player. The bat flip will remain.
Joey Bats.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to see him play a few times when I was still living in Toronto, but he's not a Hall of Famer because he doesn't have the longevity. He's a Hall of Very Good. I know that's a goofy term, but that's
hmm
what he is.
I'm not, but I won't be shocked if he gets a vote.
Well, he'll get some votes. He's
Yeah.
going to get a few votes.
Well, here's the thing. He's eighth on this list, in my opinion, as I'm working my way up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, he's the
Yeah,
eighth.
and I've got the same list up, so I think just you're going off a baseball reference, and then uh,
Yeah.
okay, ascending B War.
Yeah. If sending B War is exactly right.
Okay, right.
Adrian Gonzalez.
Gonzalez is just a better Victor Martinez. I don't know what that necessarily means here either.
Mm.
You know,
Both,
again,
both, played
again.
for, both played for the Red Sox.
Yeah,
Matt Holliday.
I
Now
like
we're
Matt
getting
Holliday.
into some very good players at this
Very
point.
good player, not a Hall of Famer.
I'm not sure this guy's actually retired. Bartolo Colon. He's still playing. He's just not playing in the majors.
Well, at least we know the rule with that. Like, unlike the Basketball Hall of Fame, where I have no clue. how that works. Hockey, at least, if you're still playing in a major league in Europe, and well,
Yeah.
Jagger at age 50 is not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, yeah, he played earlier this year. There was a flu. He owns a team over there, and a
Mhm.
flu went through his team, and half the team was unable to play that night. So he skated and had 3 assists
Okay,
at 50.
if men could give birth to each other,
Yes.
then the fountain of youth would be either Paul Rudd and Jagger. I don't know which combination. And I've never seen them together either. So maybe that's not even possible.
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, just put a wig on Paul Rudd, right? Um,
Well, I think that Jagger doesn't have the mullet anymore. So he just says, I don't think he's gone gray yet either.
Not really.
So,
So
I mean, all right. Well, this just went to a weird sort of bad sci-fi experiment.
yeah, it
Please,
did.
please
But
get me out of this.
let's yes. Well, let's keep working up the list.
Oh,
Now
wait,
this
wait,
is
no,
the
but
guy.
look, come on. Let's go stick with come on though. Uh,
Yeah, come on.
I'm more prone to give Cologne a vote over Batista.
Agreed. I mean, Cologne, you'd want in your team as a pitcher for almost 20 years.
Everyone loves him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bautista, like at the end, it's like, oh God, just stop arguing with the umpires.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Stop.
He would have fit in the NBA very well.
Yes. Yeah. So, but where was Bartolo? I think one of my favorite Bartolo moment is when he hit his first home run in his 40s.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's
Oldest player ever to have his first home run.
yeah, and just you're just it wasn't so much for that the home run. It was just all his teammates just like what? Like yes, it was that was I love it. I don't know that Cologne's really a Hall of Famer because then we're looking at the compilers.
Mm-hmm.
Although he did, Bartolo's got the Cy Young though 1 year.
Yeah. Well, let me pull this
I'm
up.
pretty
I
sure he
actually don't have
does.
our cover open. I'll
Yeah,
double check here.
yeah. I'm pretty sure he does. And compilers, like, I struggle with that. But Bartolo did have, if he didn't win the Cy Young, he was damn close.
He won the Cy Young in 2005.
But that was with Cleveland, right?
He was the Angels.
Oh, the Angels.
Yeah.
What the hell who am I confusing?
He was an all-star for the Mets in 2016 as a 43-year-old.
An earned.
Yeah.
Um,
He
well,
was 15 and he was 15 and 8 that season with a
oh,
3.43 ERA.
well, speaking. So if we want to go and stay with Mets, here's someone who could survive easily.
Well, yeah, well, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Cologne also has 247 wins. I know he's a compiler again,
Mm-hmm.
but when we get again when nobody's going to have 100 wins, don't be shocked if we see Cologne on one of those veterans ballots at some point.
We could
So,
see Jacob DeGrom could get into the Hall of Fame as a starting pitcher with under 150 wins.
oh, 100%. And he probably should. But again, speaking of Mets, and this guy I think would be a Hall of Famer without the injury, David Wright.
Yes. So do people vote? But he did have the injury.
But he did have the injuries, no question.
So what do you do? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like David Wright a lot.
Yeah. But you can see I still have three more people. You can see why I think Hunter's in trouble.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these guys are probably not Hall of Famers, but some of these people could stick around on the ballot for a while.
Well, also, let's with Wright and Cologne, and to a lesser extent Bautista, you've got three very big names that are well known, and you mentioned known and cachet value. The guy above, Chase Utley, does he have that?
I mean, he and Rollins and Mike are the first baseman right now for
Mm-hmm.
that Phillies team in 2008.
Rollins, Howard.
Howard, thank
Yeah,
you. The three of them had quite a thing together, but Utley is by far the least charismatic of those three.
yeah, least charismatic. But he's got the advanced stats, and there's a lot of people who care about that.
Mm-hmm.
So Utley is a really good candidate. I would have him personally right now behind Wright, personally.
Okay.
But I don't know that they're on because I'm the type of guy I would fill all 10 names.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. It's hard for this. Uh, this one, the other one that would be the second one highest is very interesting too. Joe Mauer.
Mm-hmm.
And
I I think Mauer's a Hall of Famer.
I think he's eventually going to get in. I don't know when. It won't be first ballot.
No, it definitely won't be first ballot. But Mauer, I mean, you after Mauer, who's the next catcher? Yadier Molina?
Well, and Molina is then if you still want to go by advanced, Molina doesn't have a shot.
I
I think
know.
Molina
My
deserves.
point, but Molina's almost a living legend at this point.
I agree.
But my point is, there are no other catchers in any sort of consideration at all after Mauer.
His position helps him more than anyone else here.
Yeah, agreed.
That on just on the new crop and then on the crop that he's going to be with. It's Mauer also too. You think of Joe Mauer, Minnesota.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. There's one team that also
right.
definitively helps. It
Mm-hmm.
helps if you get a whole fan base behind you. If Kenny Lofton never leaves Cleveland, he's in the Hall of Fame already.
Right. Joe Mauer was at one point the best in his position. We've got people like with Scott Rowland, he was in that conversation for the best of his position.
Mm-hmm.
Mauer
Mauer was. By
was
the way,
undisputed.
sorry. By the way, apologies to Buster Posey, who went out of my head for a second.
Mine too, because I didn't correct
Yeah,
that.
I said to myself, there's somebody else I'm forgetting. It's Buster Posey.
Mm.
But Mauer is going to be on this ballot. Mauer is going to stick on the ballot
Oh, absolutely,
after this year.
absolutely.
And then the guy who I think is first ballot getting in, Adrian Beltre.
I agree. So like that's one spot that's already taken on
Yes.
someone's list. So the more we're talking here, yeah, I think the biggest victim would be a Tory Hunter by far. Uh, Burley can survive. Who was second last?
Francisco Rodriguez. So I think it's actually good. I actually think the
Yeah,
next biggest problem is going to be for Rollins,
I think so too.
because I think the closer that Wagner gets, the more it drags Rodriguez up.
Hmm.
And Burley, like I said, is the last of his kind. Rollins is there with Utley. Does that hurt? Like I don't know, but I think that Hunter and Rollins are the two probably the biggest danger of falling off.
Does Bartolo going on hurt Pettit?
Yeah, Pettit's going to be in year 6 next year,
Hmm.
and he hasn't really made that much headroom. He's at 17%.
So at this point now, you got this group now. I think to your point, Tory Hunter is in the worst shape, but Omar could just drop off completely.
Omar could completely drop off too,
Yeah.
but Omar dropping off will have nothing with who to do with who's coming on. Although
No,
maybe the sheer number of bodies coming on, because
but
let's
it
be
could.
honest,
It
they'll trade
could.
Mauer, Utley, Wright, Cologne, Holiday, Gonzalez, Bautista, and maybe Reyes, although probably not. But those top 8 could at least get some votes from people.
Reyes could conceivably get 0 votes based on who we have
Mhm.
left. I don't
And
know.
then I bet Vmart, I bet beats out Reyes.
Yeah.
Victor Martinez was a much more beloved figure.
Well,
Both,
if I'm going with my prediction of 0, then he can't not lose.
yeah, I don't think Victor Martinez gets close to 5%, but he's going to be 2 or 3. So
Yeah. Well, maybe our fine people at BetStamp can create something just for us.
we'll see.
Download the app, Buck25.
There we go. But no, so the good news is they elected somebody. We didn't have our third blank ballot or third blank class in a row, because as I always like to point out about that 2013 class where we elected nobody, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people in from that 2013 ballot in which they elected no one. So it's just a waste of all of our time. I'm sorry, 10. We have 10 people in. I can't count because I specifically wore contacts today because I wanted to have them for this thing, because I now use the ring light and don't want it reflecting in my glasses. I came home from my long day. I got myself, changed out everything, immediately went to the bathroom and threw one of my contacts into the trash. And I'm like, what an idiot. What am I doing?
I usually wear glasses all the time. Actually, I just put them on for this show because I'm so much better looking.
Oh, yes. Well,
Uh,
that's it. Glad for the thing. But like, we had 10 people from 2013 ballot. Biggio, Morris, Bagwell, Piazza, Raines, Lee Smith, Edgar Martinez, Alan Trammell, Larry Walker, Fred McGriff.
to be fair though,
Oh,
three of those guys were
four.
not four. Who's the fourth?
Well, I'm sorry. Finish your sentence. Go ahead.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong on something. Because I thought three of those guys were not done by the baseball writers.
Yeah, four of them then.
Four.
Morris, Lee
Oh,
Smith,
Morris. Sorry,
Trammell.
I didn't hear Morris. I apologize.
Yeah, Morris, Lee Smith, Trammell, and McGriff. But I mean, the next people, but the top six, and then 10, 11, 12, and 13 from the ballot, the three in the middle are Schilling, Clemens, and Bonds. And then the next name on that ballot is Dale Murphy.
Mhm.
So, and then McGuire and Mattingly. But Murphy and Mattingly keep getting cycled around as well.
Yeah.
So, I know, we'll see. And also, Kenny Lofton was on that ballot and nobody elected him, and I'm still mad. And so, anyway, all right. So that's enough for the Baseball Hall of Fame for now, I think. But I'm glad they elected someone.
I am too. So yeah, that's so I guess we should try to whip through the next bit because we've taken a lot of time on that. So usually from this point, so from people who are dead on the ballot, let's go through to people who are dead.
Yeah, fortunately, it's a very short list this week.
Okay.
So,
Again, master of the segue.
yes, very good. We should get sponsored by Segway. Do they still exist?
I don't know.
I will say that the Beige Mistress was quiet this week. So,
Oh, good.
congratulations, athletes of Hungary. There is one person I do want to point out. One of the great producers in Hollywood, Edward Pressman, passed away at the age of 79. He did, oh God, I can't even tell you how many movies this is. Like, so many. Though he was actually working on the new version of The Crow when he passed away. But like, I'm trying to think. Thank You for Smoking. The Cooler, The Crow, the original The Crow. What was the one I was looking for earlier? Or he did Das Boot.
Hmm.
Wall Street, Talk Radio, The Year of the Gun, The Bad Lieutenant, Hoffa, Street Fighter, Island of Dr. Moreau, like a whole bunch of things that I care. American Psycho. Just a whole bunch of movies that kept me very, very happy in my teens and 20s. But he passed away at the age of 79.
Okay.
That's my only person outside of the rest of our list here. Like I said, it's a very short list.
Nice.
From baseball we lost three, and music we lost four, and that's it. So Hiromitsu Kadota, member of the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame, passed away at the age of 74. Played with the Nankai Hawks from 70 to 88, the Oryx Braves from 89 to 90, in the Fukuoka Dele Hawks. Got to be careful when you say that city name. From 91 to 92. But he was 74 years old. Oh, come on, computer. Am I frozen?
Oh, not for me.
Okay. My thing is frozen. There we go. Also passing away, member of the White Sox and Red Sox, Gary Peters, passed away at the age of 85. Two-time All-Star in 64 and 67. He was the AL Rookie of the Year with the White Sox in 63. Led the league in wins in 64 and led the league in ERA in 63 and 66. Went 124, 103 in his career between the two teams. I didn't see when he passed away. He was members of the Chicago White Sox All-Century team back when they announced that in the 2000s. So
That's impressive, being an all-century player on any squad.
Yeah, particularly one that was around for the whole century,
Well,
like the
that's
White Sox.
kind of where I should have finished that thought. It's not like if it was done by the Houston Texans or anything like that. But yes. Who else do we lose in baseball?
Sal Bando,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
third
Really good player.
third baseman, captain of those A's squads in the
Mm-hmm.
'70s that
Won
won
three.
multiple titles. I mean,
72,
there's
73,
so many Hall of
74.
Famers. There's so many Hall of Famers on that team. Bando was the captain.
Yep. Bando is like on our baseball list of those considered. He's in that top 300. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
I think I forget where he is, but he's in the first half of that. Bando was like really, really good. Lost in the shuffle somewhat
Mm-hmm.
well, when you've got a colorful owner like Charles O. Finley who just wanted to sort of like put life into every player. Like, didn't he offer Vita Blue money if he would change his first name to True? I think so.
That I don't know. I know that he got drunk and made a trade with the Red Sox that got rescinded. He traded Vita Blue, Raleigh Fingers, and let me see if I can find that trade. But
Wasn't
he
that
got,
like after that, and then sort of like Oakland sort of became Oakland in terms of,
yeah,
except for that blip on the radar when just everything sort of fell in their lap with Canseco, McGuire, and then they had some money to play with, and then they couldn't do it anymore.
yeah. Joe Rudy and Raleigh Fingers were traded to the Red Sox for $1 million each, and Bowie Kuhn said no. So Bowie Kuhn did something other than get spanked repeatedly by Marvin Miller. Um, but no, but Bando would play for the A's from Kansas City into Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
66 through 76, played for the Brewers from 77 to 81. Four-time All-Star, three-time World Series champion, member of the A's Hall of Fame, and a member of the Milwaukee Brewers Wall of Honor.
Oh, wait a minute, Wall of Water?
Honor.
Oh, Honor. Okay.
Yeah. So
Players haven't popped from the plane yet.
also was a pretty good um, general manager in his time as well. And it was inducted also in the National College Baseball Hall of Fame in 2013.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so he was the general manager of the Brewers for 8 years in the '90s as well. So I was trying to see. They had a list of the people that he drafted.
Ryan Braun.
He probably did.
Well,
Um, oh, he is the one who let Molitor go to the Blue Jays. So uh,
yeah. I mean, I was just actually writing about that because the last thing I'm going to do is the top 50 Blue Jays. Um, and yeah, that was a one of those things too. You've got an aging guy in Molitor. Like, okay, what do you have left in him?
well, I mean, that's what he said. They didn't look at him as a position player anymore. They looked at him more as a designated hitter, so they didn't
He
offer him,
was.
which he was. They didn't offer him a contract, and the Blue Jays were like, yoink.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was sort of, and we've seen it over and over, where you take somebody in their mid 30s, as good as they've been, and you give them a multi-year contract, and
It
you're
does
taking
not
a
go well.
chance. And
Yeah.
for the Jays, that worked out brilliantly. Uh, Not only that too, because again, Molitor that was '93 World Series MVP,
Mm-hmm.
batted over 450 in that World Series. You can tell I just wrote this. And then 3 years later, I guess Toronto's in that same position, and then Minnesota takes him, so he can finish off in his home state, and
Mm-hmm.
has another All Star season in '96. But he's alive, so let's move on to people who are dead.
That is true. So we, like I said, three people from music, and then one other person who I want to talk a little bit about. BG, the Prince of Rap, American rapper who Eurodance artist as well, passed away at the age of 57. Hit the charts quite a bit over in Germany, not as much over here. His top hit in the US was The Beat Is Hot from 1991 and Take Control of the Party in 1991 as well. Both hit. Beat Is Hot hit number one and Take Control of the Party hit number two in the US dance charts.
I'm sure I heard it back then.
Yeah, Germany charted 12 times.
Hmm.
Um, from the Yardbirds, Topham passed away. Anthony Topham passed away at the age of 75. 75, first lead guitarist of the Yardbirds, although he left before they achieved the popularity and was replaced by someone named Clapton, I believe. um, so yeah, so the Yardbirds, of course, had Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page at various points in their history.
But
So
other than that,
Topham was a little bit forgotten. He's definitely the fourth member of their Mount Rushmore of guitar players. Literally, three of the top 10 guitar players of all time all played in the same band at different times. So, but yeah, he was actually an interior designer after he left music. But he was passed away at the age of 75. The producer of one of the most famous keyboard riffs probably in music history, Dean Daughtry, passed away at the age of 76.
okay.
He was keyboard player for the Classics 4 and is the keyboardist for Spooky.
Oh.
Late in the evening with everything. That whole
Yeah, I remember that. Not from song, but yeah.
That's Dean Daughtry.
Okay.
He then went after leaving them to be one of the founding members of the Atlanta Rhythm Section. And was their only constant member for the history of the band. The band lasted from 71 to 2000. Daughtry was the only member of the band that entire time. They had a couple hits with Imaginary Lover in 78, and So Into You was probably the biggest hit in 77. He passed
So he was
away.
a keyboardist in that. Okay. So didn't he do some lead singing then too?
He might have.
Okay. If it's who I'm thinking of, just like I'm trying to visualize.
I mean, their lead singer was Rodney Justo in 70, but he
okay.
probably did some of the singing as well. But yeah, Daughtry was 76 years old. And the last person I want to talk about is kind of a radio legend here in Chicago who passed away over the weekend. Lynn Bramer passed away at the age of 68. Bramer called himself on the radio here, your best friend in the whole world, is how he introduced himself. Bramer is one of the great music directors of a radio station anywhere of all time. He started in radio in 77 in Albany, moved to New York in 84 to take over the music director position, was 3 times named National Music Director of the Year across the country. Had been there with the franchise. He took a quick trip to Minnesota before coming back, but he'd been with WXRT 93.1 here in Chicago since 1991 all the way through. He left in this past summer to undergo some chemotherapy, but came back in November. He was sounding stronger all the time, but he started missing things a couple weeks ago and passed away at the age of 68. But I've been in Chicago now for 6 years, and XRT is its own sort of thing anyway, because XRT's got a whole bunch of DJs who love music and talk only to tell you about the music and not make names for themselves. They don't have some show in the morning who does whatever. It's just it's the rock and roll station. They were bought by Odyssey 3 years ago, but they used to be the last independent radio station here in Chicago. And it's one of the places I find new rock music. They like, if I want to hear good stuff and the new stuff, some of which I love, some of which I don't like as much, but at least I get to hear it. XRT is the place I go as an old person now who still listens to the radio, because none of the young folks do. But Bramer's the reason that station is what it is and why it's an icon. He like the outpouring of support when Bramer passed away was amazing here within Chicago. He also was one of those people, huge Cubs fan, was every other station would want his input on what the Cubs were doing, even though he's the music director over at another station. But yeah, when he passed away, it's weird. Not since Grant Imahara died from Mythbusters. Like, it was his second celebrity I never met who I felt like I legitimately lost a friend when they passed away. Grant Imahara passing away. He had a aneurysm, 4 or 5 years ago, died at the age of 48. I was like shocked. I couldn't believe it. I felt like Emma Hara was one of my best friends because I've seen him in so many things. I felt the same way about Lynn Bramer, even though I never even really saw him. I only heard him. But I just wanted a quick thing to our best friend in the whole world, Lynn Bramer, and may he I don't know when the gig in the sky, is that the song by Led
Pink Floyd.
Zeppelin
Oh, that's
or Pink Floyd? No, you're right, it's Pink Floyd. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I hope he's enjoying whatever it is up there and still having an awesome time. They did 4 hours just as a tribute to Lynn,
Okay,
um,
nice.
for him on Sunday when he passed away. So
Mhm. Well,
that's
yeah.
all I got.
Okay. So now it's up to elevator up, elevator down, which is where I will make a Hall of Fame case just for the past week of someone who did something really good, or sometimes someone who did something really bad. So here's my elevator down, and she's been here
Elevator up, elevator down.
before.
Mm.
So I
It's
mentioned,
never good to be the elevator down multiple times.
well, it's someone I've talked about, and I was really rooting hard for. I'm not as much anymore because I mentioned I was on a plane today. Want to know what I didn't do?
What didn't you do?
I didn't make an ass of myself
Oh,
because as much as I can be a goofball, as much as I can do a lot of dumb things at the border and at the airport, yeah, keep your mouth shut.
mm.
2 years ago, I was on a bit of a rant on this one. I was upset with your nation's Olympic body because they denied Sha'Carri Richardson the chance to compete
Mm.
for the U.S. She was denied because she tested positive for marijuana. Whoopity doo. I think most people in the 2020s, maybe in the 2010s, don't care. So then it was interesting. So why didn't they? Because they could have overturned. They could have let her do. They could have let her compete. It was their decision not to. But maybe they knew something that we didn't know. That this woman is a colossal idiot.
Okay.
And that's really what I'm thinking. Now, did you see what she did on a plane?
I did not.
Okay. Well, basically, she got kicked off.
Not surprising. I figured we were going there.
That's where we're going. And unlike when who was it? OBJ got kicked off. And so we have he said. Well, we have the video because she uploaded it.
Oh, jeez.
Now, yeah, I don't quite know exactly where it started, why the captain wanted to kick her off, but basically, I think at the time where it was like, turn your phones off, she wasn't and was insta recording herself,
Mm.
and she was more upset that the steward, the what do you call a male steward? I don't know.
Just call them flight
Flight,
attendants.
flight
You don't
attendant.
have to
Thank you.
gender anybody.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't even actually the gender doesn't even matter here anyway. So
No.
got into the camera. Now there might have been something that happened before, but probably not. Either way, Captain knows that there's a ruckus. Captain doesn't give a crap who this person is, probably because he doesn't know who she is because she hasn't done enough to be famous, transcend. Now this woman should have it all. She should have everything because here
Mm-hmm.
you have a woman who is great in a sport that people care about, albeit once every 4 years, but they still give a crap about. She models herself after Florence Griffith Joyner.
Mm-hmm.
FloJo was a star. I remember her
Lawrence Griffith
very,
Joyner is a pretty good person to model yourself after, let's be honest.
absolutely. And a lot of that, what she sort of models to, is her style. Now, if you look at Sha'Carri Richardson, she's a very striking young lady,
Mm.
and that does not hurt. So
No.
you have somebody who is talented, and now in a bit of this, let's just call it a woke culture, she checks off a lot of boxes: female, black, and apparently LGBT. I didn't know this until recently, so I think she's in a gay relationship.
Okay.
This all helps you if you want to get sponsors. As weird as it is to think about that from 10 years ago, but it's huge now. If I was if I know all this stuff about her and I'm at Nike or whatever, and I think she's still signed with Nike in some capacity, I'm saying this is who I want. Unfortunately, we saw what happened last year, or was it 2 years ago, when she finished dead last in the meet, and that's when she got cocky. Also, the same woman who, when she got told that she couldn't compete, did the best speech ever and made everyone love her.
No, yeah, that speech was fantastic.
It was the best speech ever. It should have been the template of what to do if you want to get people on your side. And it was perfect. And everything she's done since has not been. Now, in her diatribe, when she was getting kicked off the plane, uh, she was flippant. She was arrogant. She was a petulant, spoiled little child. And then it also dropped the, does the captain know who I am?
Mm-hmm.
And then
At least she didn't do the "I'm the captain now." Sorry,
she did not. She well that would have been
that'd have been funnier.
it would have been funnier because then as she's doing that, and then people start applauding because most people didn't know who she was,
Mm.
and why would they? She didn't do enough to become
Mm-hmm.
globally famous or American famous or whatever type of fame you want. Also, didn't do enough to even have anyone with her. She was wherever she was going to. She was by herself.
Mm. No handlers.
No handlers, no entourage, no nothing. Now, Shikari's probably been on a plane long enough to know what the rules are. I guess not. But then also her last comment, and again, she uploaded this,
Mm-hmm.
which was, well, it's okay. I can fly private anyway.
Then why didn't you?
Exactly. Why didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
No, Shikari, you can't because you've made a few dumb decisions and you're going to blow it again. I
Yeah,
hope.
I didn't see any of this.
Yeah, I'd like to be wrong. So she's an elevator down, I guess, for the U.S. Track and Field Hall of Fame,
Okay.
potentially for our United States Athletic Hall of Fame, because this woman has a track record. See what I did there? Of
Ah,
making
good.
bad decisions.
She's been a track record of being off track.
Yes, and becoming very likable to, nah, now I wonder, maybe they knew something.
No, it's also possible she had a bad day and she has the opportunity to recover because we the two data points that we have on her. Let's be honest. I'm
Mhm.
not watching enough ladies track and field or women's track and field to really know that much about what's going
Well,
on.
I was checking this out, right, to see. So she's been
Mm-hmm.
up and down
Mm-hmm.
since. So it's not necessarily lived up to the trajectory that she was going.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But my point is the two
sorry.
things that we have an incredible situation and an awful situation.
Okay.
So there's a medium between the two, which by 2024, when the next Olympics is straightened out and everything from there. Who knows? So
And let's hope so.
yeah,
For her own good. I now I don't know what type of person she is because there's her at her handling the worst situation that could have happened to an athlete in the most gracious way possible to handling basic etiquette in a pampered, spoiled way. That doesn't make you relatable to people.
true.
Which I mean, great athletes, I suppose they're not generally relatable in some capacity, but you
Yeah, I
can't
mean,
market that.
we should know. So
Oh yes, yes. And I'm sure she doesn't care what I think, but
yeah.
uh, it was. I guess maybe I feel a little let down because I want to cheer for this person so bad.
Mm.
I can't right now.
Well,
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
yeah, but she has every opportunity. She didn't, from what you're telling me, she didn't hit anybody. She's not going to jail.
No, I mean I've watched enough YouTube videos because I went on a binge one day, just sort of like watching bad behavior on planes. So no, she would not have made the top 100. But
Mm-hmm.
it's
So
always a big put off when somebody plays the "Do you know who I am" card. Can't watch Legally Blonde anymore without knowing. Hey, Reese Witherspoon did "Do you know who I am" to a cop.
mm, so
That's just me.
fair enough. All right, should we go to the bad, the ugly, and the good?
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. So starting with the bad,
Mhm.
which has a very good chance to turn to ugly here very shortly. The U.S. men's national soccer team situation right now. So they got to the round of 16, the World Cup, which was their goal. They lost to a much better Netherlands team. Netherlands was just a better team than the U.S. That should surprise nobody, right? But the purpose of that was we were the third youngest team there and had the youngest starting lineup of anybody there.
Mhm.
Uh, the idea is to build towards 2026. Now they had a game last night. They lost to Serbia 2-1. It didn't matter. They brought it. That game was really practice. They brought in 8 people who had never played for the U.S. national team before. Team showed some pretty good spirit and everything. But the interesting about that was who was not on there, which is their coach is
Oh,
currently in limbo. He
oh,
doesn't have a contract.
how's that
Greg
happen?
Berhalter. He's out of contract, and with the situation with Claudio Reyna, his former teammate and former roommate, and not keeping Gio off the team. By the way, Gio Reyna had the game-winning goal in 2 consecutive games over in Germany for his team, including scoring the 93rd minute to win over this past weekend. The guy who he said wasn't going to play. Berhalter is kind of in limbo because he admitted that he had a domestic situation in college with his girlfriend that he sought treatment for, worked his way through and everything.
Uh-oh.
He legitimately did. And he married his wife. There's been no situation
Okay.
since. He literally did go through the treatment and everything else and apparently came out the other side. Now, Berhalter is in his 50s. This happened when he was 19.
Okay.
Okay. But the people who knew about this were Berhalter's roommate, Claudia Reyna, and
Mhm.
Berhalter's roommate's wife, who was teammates with Berhalter's wife on the soccer team in their same college.
Mm-mm.
So when Gio got himself benched for no reason other than Berhalter did a bad job managing things, and then sulked about it. So Gio came into the camp, and apparently Berhalter told him, "Just by the way, you're not going to play that much. Just coming in. Why you tell any player that? I don't know. Like you tell them, be prepared. I'm not. You say I'm not sure how much you're going to play, but be prepared. That's basically what you're going to say, right? Not, yeah, you're probably my last option off the bench." We told him that they had a warm up game against, I think it was Qatar, and he didn't hustle when he was out there. And Berhalter called him off the field, benched him, and then made him apologize to the other team, or he's going to the entire team in the locker room, or he's going to send him home. So Reyna's wife, whose name I cannot remember right now, after this whole thing happened, leaked to the press about this domestic thing back 30 years ago. And this is where we get to the point we are now. Now, the fallout of this is not just we don't have a coach. So right now, Ernie Stewart, who was another great American player, who had been let me make sure I have the right thing, was his actual role was sporting director for the U.S. national team, left today to go take over at PSV in the Netherlands. Brian McBride, another U.S. national team player who had been the I can't remember his direct role. He was basically under Stewart, but above Berhalter. His contract is not renewed and he's gone. So there's a massive brain drain right now with the biggest World Cup in the history of this country. 1994, it was us coming onto the stage with a chance for the first time to show, hey, we belong in this competition. This is one where if we play our cards right, we have a chance to go further than the final 16 with a more experienced team. But we have no direction right now. There's nobody in charge of the U17 team. There's nobody in charge of U20. There's no one in charge of U23. There's no one in charge of the national team because the people in charge of making those decisions aren't there.
Okay, that's pretty
It
big.
is a weird situation. Right now, it's bad. mean, we're still, what, 1,200 days or something more than that from the World Cup starting in 2026, right? So we got plenty of time to fix this. So that's why it's not ugly, but it's trending ugly
Okay.
at the
So, so what is ugly?
ugly is the internet in general.
Okay.
Um, so, oh, by the way, also Claudio Reyna today resigned from his role with FC Austin because of everything going on at the U.S. national team as well. So, yeah, there's been a lot going on. Anyway, I just want to throw that in there as well. Ugly is what's going on with the internet and how rumors get started.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I talked about this briefly ahead of time. DeMar Hamlin collapsed on the field a month ago, a little less than that at this point, right?
Yeah.
Um, was miraculously revived, was back, talked to his teammates, was in the stadium. He was dressed up with sunglasses and some other stuff while he was in the stadium. Did not talk to reporters, but talked to his team. And because of all of this, there's also a movement on the internet. I'm not going to say my opinion on it, but there's a movement on the internet saying that the vaccine causes premature deaths amongst people, and the people are just dropping dead because they had the vaccine for COVID. So these same people are now saying that DeMar is dead. He died on that field, and they've been using a body double to try and like, I just want to point out to all the conspiracy theorists, and here's the thing with almost every conspiracy. There's a great song by a band called the Pierces, who actually, I think the song was on Pretty Little Liars. I don't watch Pretty Little Liars. I love the Pierces. They have a song, the lyrics go, it's about keeping secrets. It goes, two can keep a secret if one of us is dead, is the line that they keep saying. In order for a conspiracy this large to exist, you would need literally hundreds of people involved in this cover up, one of whom is Cole Beasley. You're telling me Cole Beasley had someone pretend to be his teammate go into the locker room, and Beasley, who is one of the most conspiracy theorist people in the NFL, was just like,
what if somebody's done a body double on Cole Beasley?
He was out of the league until recently. He only came back.
There you go. Yeah, and the thing is, Evan and I both we like a good conspiracy theory. I've floated a few myself.
You can tell me whatever you want. They had the Knicks number in their fridge or the freezer before the 1985 draft. I don't care. For the lottery, that they picked specifically that next.
You've got to come up with some type of logic behind it, not something where, to your point, I mean, exactly. And the thing also too, where that all happened, because like when I saw that trend on Twitter, you try to find, there really was hardly anybody saying that this was the case. It's just like I think two or three. I could barely find anybody who actually believed it. But that's all it takes.
But it hits the echo chamber. So one of my favorite. Do you ever watch TV show Brain Games?
Heard of it, but never seen it.
Oh, I love Brain Games. I like it. So in my real life, guys, when I'm not doing this, believe it or not, I have a job. I run a sales.
Not, I don't.
Yeah, that's true. I run a pretty big sales team for a Fortune 500 company, right? I have over 100 agents who I'm working with. And one of the videos I show them on a fairly regular basis is the Vegas line video from Brain Games. And so here's the setup. They're on the strip in Las Vegas, and they set up 2 tensor barriers with just a sign that says line starts here. And just to see what happens. They put a video on it.
Yeah.
What happens for 15, 20 minutes, people walk by, nobody stops. They look at the sign, but nobody stops, right? So they put an actor at the front of the line. And people walk by and they're like, what's this for? He's like, I don't know. Sign said stand here, so I'm just standing here. Like, he was pretty non-committal about the whole thing. Finally, a wonderful couple comes by. They're like, he's like, I don't know, could be pretty fun. Why don't you join? And they're like, yeah, let's join. So they get in line behind him. As soon as there are 3 people, the line takes off. so many people are standing in that line for reasons they have no idea other than other people were standing in it, right? And eventually, I won't ruin what goes on, but eventually, a fake security card comes and lets them move, and everyone in the line just does crazy things because the person in front of them is doing it. That's what happens on the internet,
Especially Twitter.
particularly Twitter.
Yeah.
It's and the, unlike say Parler, which is an echo chamber of only one type of people, Twitter is an echo chamber of different communities where stuff will bounce off, and there will be people making fun of people bouncing off, and then there will be people reacting to people making fun of, and that's how it goes viral and goes crazy.
Totally.
But this one, just stop it.
And the other thing too, if you're going to sort of don't even feed into it, because then all you do is keep that algorithm going.
Yeah, there's one thing Kirk and I have learned through this thing. Twitter is a fantastic place to find people to have real discussions, believe it or not.
Absolutely.
But as soon as you get political, it becomes a cesspool no matter what you do. Now, I actually did post one of the most political things I ever posted. I posted this week. With a member of my extended family was having some mental health issues. Went over to her parents' place for dinner where she knew where her father, who was a retired police officer, kept an unsecured gun and shot herself and committed suicide. Right? All I put on that was, I'm not putting anything I'm saying is, please make sure your guns are secured. That's as political as I get. That's a very hard statement to do anything, right? When my Uncle Bob died, I said, guys, just wear freaking masks. Even if you don't care, let's protect other people. That was a lot more political for reasons I don't get, right? But getting involved in petty fights on Twitter is a terrible way to spend your life.
And pointless.
There's good debates that can come out of it. But like
I had a conversation at the bar I frequent a lot near Mount Manitoba, near the base of Mount Manitoba. Can't wait to show you that place. You'd love it.
That's where all the Sherpas hang out before they take you to the top of Mount Manitoba.
Well, yes, I would. So maybe I'm growing up to be one of the Sherpas here. I don't know.
Nice. You have a very Tenzing Norgay look right now. You know who Tenzing Norgay was?
Oh,
he's the guy who brought Sir Edmund Hillary up the mountain.
So, okay.
Everyone remembers Hillary. Norgay was actually the first guy there.
Okay, I thought this was something that was kind of metrosexual, so I just took it as
no. That's a tough last name. It wasn't as big.
Well, that's where I thought in my head.
Yeah, it wasn't as big a deal.
That's why you made it to Jeopardy and I didn't.
Mm. Yes. And I didn't come up on Jeopardy. Instead, they asked me questions on luggage and famous names that doomed me. But continue.
Well, yeah. Yes. No, and that was pretty much it. I mean, like my like Twitter has been fantastic. Oh yeah. Sorry, my conversation there with someone. And someone said, she was the bartender. She was saying like Twitter's just this awful place. So not only if you let it be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't let it be. So actually, someone I think tried to bait me on something like because I'm an anti-Trudeau. As political as I get openly is that I hate Trudeau, not necessarily his party. And I'll leave it at that. And someone who I don't think I've ever interacted with and I don't follow sent me something on Twitter saying, and I didn't bite, like the tide's shifting. Because right now the conservatives are leading in a national poll. Like, okay, I don't know you. I'm not playing this. I tweeted a couple things at Justin and I wish I didn't because like, what's the point?
Yeah. Right.
I haven't deleted them and I'm not going to bother either, but it's nope, not playing, not engaging.
Yeah, but that it's the ugly side of Twitter.
Yeah.
It's not.
But let's close with something nice.
Let's just not do this. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, absolutely.
The good. Proof once again that you want a Brady and not a Manning. Joe Burrow defeats Josh Allen in the AFC semifinals. Burrow's going to win on Sunday, just so you guys know. The Bengals are going to beat the Chiefs.
Where can you bet?
I don't know. It's something that cost me $1.25.
Sorry, it was there.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah.
The Bengals are going to beat the Chiefs this weekend, right?
Okay.
The Chiefs have a very good record, but they're an incredibly flawed team. The Jaguars just completely forgot that Travis Kelce was on the field, despite the fact that the rest of those receivers on that Chiefs team are okay,
Mhm.
and it ended up destroying them. Right, Mahomes is hurt. I don't know how mobile he's going to be, and if he's not mobile, he locked down Kelce, it's over.
And
Right,
Cincinnati, yeah, okay, but yeah, and Cincinnati's
Cincinnati's going to get to the
hurt
Super
is
Bowl
fine.
again.
Yeah. Mhm.
And God, my son somehow, just by the way, we live in Chicago. I'm a huge Patriots fan. He decided during the Super Bowl last year he was going to be a Bengals fan during the Super Bowl. And then
During
when
the
they
season,
lost, he cried for legitimately 3 hours.
is he still a Bengals fan?
He still decided he's a Bengals fan. This is his team.
All right, so
Nothing to do with he decided during the Super
I've
Bowl.
never met your son. I never met you either, but I'm
Yeah.
holding him for the rest of his life as a Bengals fan.
He
This
is
is your
he is
team,
a
and that's
he is
that.
a Bulls, Bruins, Bengals, and he doesn't care about baseball fan. So he's Bulls, Bruins, Bengals,
Mhm.
and doesn't care about baseball. And then soccer, PSG, I think is his team for soccer right now.
Interesting.
Paris,
Yeah.
Paris Saint Germain. No, it's
Yeah,
got
no, I know.
Mbappe and Messi and a whole bunch of and Hakimi, who he loves from Morocco. But anyway, uh, but this is the same thing we saw Brady Manning. Now Manning eventually got 3 championships, right? But he had all the weapons, all the talent. Brady, at least at the beginning of his career,
I
kept
mean,
beating him over.
Manning's got 3 championships.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Eli Manning is. We've already had this discussion.
Yeah, but you said 3 championships, or did you say a championship?
No, he has one. He has one
Oh, I'm
with
sorry. I thought you said Manning has three. My apologies.
Manning has 3 championships.
Combined. Oh, well, hold on. No, I forgot about Denver. That's right.
I
Yeah,
forgot
sorry.
about Denver. Yeah,
I forgot,
one.
I forgot about
Yeah,
Denver.
he's got 3 championships. Uh, we saw this again with Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson. I was always a Russell Wilson guy, always over Andrew Luck. Wilson's teams consistently went deep in the playoffs. Andrew Luck retired early, right?
Mhm.
It's happening again with Josh Allen and Joe Burrow.
Okay, so your good is just this is the next big superstar.
My good is that Joe Burrow is going to be, he's going to get to his second consecutive Super Bowl. On my honest opinion, I still think the Eagles are the best of these 4 teams remaining. But if he wins again, he's beaten Kansas City or not the Bengals have beaten Kansas City 3 straight times. I think they're going to beat him a 4th straight time. If he beats them 4 straight times, goes to 2 Super Bowls, which is as many as Mahomes has been to, and actually ends up winning this one. If they play San Francisco, if San Francisco somehow gets through Philly, they will win that game.
Mhm.
I don't know about them beating Philly. He's got to be no worse than second in the quarterback's hierarchy right now
Okay.
behind. And it's just great to see somebody who, oh God, and I loved after they talked about the tickets for the neutral site playoff game. Had the Bills won that game,
Mhm.
they asked him what he thought about it. He's like, I hope they're offering refunds. Like, like I just love his subtle cockiness about stuff. Joe Burrow is we've been looking for a Brady heir apparent. It is Joe Burrow. And
Okay.
Joe Burrow is going to, I don't know if they're going to win this Super Bowl this year. They got a damn good shot. And they're going to be Kansas City this weekend. And watch, now they're going to lose to Kansas City. And
Well, that would happen if I said that.
that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, and nothing will make me happier because if there have been 2 annoying fan bases this year, more annoying than anybody else, and this is a year in which Philly is good, it's been the Bills and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are talking about their dynasty in which they won 1 Super Bowl, and the Bills are talking about their dynasty in which they haven't even gotten to an AFC championship yet. So the one is done. Let's finish the second. And then if it's honestly, as long as Casey doesn't win, I don't really care. This is how much I don't care. I should hate Philly. I don't.
Yeah,
Just,
well, speaking of obnoxious fan bases, now that I'm yeah, the Leaf fans here can say hold my beer on that one. All right, with that, it's getting a little late because the undisclosed location is a little bit further out, further east. I'll leave it at that. So there's a few other things that we do here on the Bucknerverse Network. The Bucknerverse Network, I really like that. The other show that I do with Andrea Tessman and Brad Nelson, we just recorded one with the Osmonds, One Bad Apple, where we look at how the hell did this go number one. Next one we're doing is actually a really, really good song. Brad Nelson picked it. He wants to look at just sort of like how, as opposed to like really how the hell. And we're looking at Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Ah,
So
okay.
yeah, so we're looking at something really, really good. I was hope when he floated Paul Simon, I thought, yes, we're gonna do 50 ways, but no, oh well.
The
Uh,
problems are outside your head, she said to me. That's
mm.
what she said to me.
Chris Burnett and I do a show that's going to be wrapping up soon. Unfortunately, commitments are going to be taking him away for that. So I'm going to have to look for a new co-host on this show that I really like doing, which is This Crap Was on national television. So
Mhm.
soon we've got Small Wonder coming up, and we're trying to come up with a good thing to close this on. So it's been a lot of fun with Chris. I'm going to miss having him as a regular co-host for that. So if anyone who is would think you'd be really good fit for that, hit us up. Vinny Lospinuso just did a great one on Vinny Makes the Hall of Fame case for, and he just did one on Kurt Flood. So check that out. That's out on YouTube. My interview with Sean Foreman of Baseball Reference is up. There's a lot more things coming. We are in the midst of also doing our own retro Hall of Fame. Or
Mhm.
sorry, not our Football Hall of Fame Revisited. That's going
Mhm.
to come up soon. So if you want to be a voter on that, and just tell us why. Just tell us why. Just don't say you want to be a voter. We want to know like why, like where you're from. Because we want to at least try to get people from fan bases that maybe we haven't talked to, like Seattle, for example. People in the Pacific Northwest.
Mhm.
You know, Central States.
Mhm.
Like that. That's some
Get a
areas.
Chiefs fan to tell me I'm full of crap.
There you go. Something like that. Evan doesn't mind. He can take it.
I don't mind. I have nothing against Mahomes. I think Mahomes is great. I don't like his brother or wife, but that's a whole separate thing.
I can't. I don't know the hatred. I think you explained this to me before, but yeah. And I'll close with something I've said before. Patrick Mahomes' success has gone to Jackson Mahomes' head.
Mm.
Yeah. With that, wherever you are, wherever you may be, stay safe, everybody.
Take care.